So, welcome students, and in this video we are going to continue our study of weak solutions. Okay, and basically the as we have seen that weak solutions may not be continuous. Okay, so let me start with a weak solution. Weak solution, basically a note on weak solution. Note that weak solutions may not be continuous, right? Okay, so but now the question is this: so can it be anything? It can be any crazy function. I mean, can we allow that to happen? Okay, so see, here we are not allowing anything, we are just using a definition, and after that we are seeing what the definition does. Okay, not what we do. This is not in our hands that we will allow what sort of discontinuities and all. Yeah, we are not doing that. We are just defining a concept of weak solution via the compact support functions, and now what we are saying is this: so the functions may not be continuous, but that does not mean that it can be any crazy looking function. You understand? Okay, so it means it may not be continuous, but it does have restrictions on the type of discontinuity. I hope this is fine. Okay, so basically you cannot expect anything to be any discontinuous function to be a weak solution. There should be a specific thing which we are going to explore. Okay, so for that what we are going to do is we are going to start with a curve. Okay, so first of all, the equation is ut plus f of u times x equals to 0. U at the point x0 is given to be phi of x, right? That's the equation given to us. X is in r, t greater than 0. Let's just call it 1 for now. Okay, so this is the conservation law. This equation is, we will call it a conservation law. That's okay. Okay, now let's say that let u is a weak solution of 1. Okay, if it is a weak solution of 1, such that, so not any weak solution, but such that u is discontinuous, clear? Okay, across some curve, so this curve is given by x equals to psi t, clear? Okay, but u is smooth on either side of the curve, clear? Of the curve. So what do I mean by this? I mean that let's say that you have something like this. One sec. Okay, let's say that's your x, this is your t. Okay, now let's say, so I'm sorry, this is a very slight curve, the graph was not drawn properly, but anyways, I hope you understand. Yeah, it's fine. So let's say that's your curve, x equals to psi t, clear? X equals to psi t. So u is u minus here and u is u plus here, clear? So we will call this part of u, so u is smooth here in this part. Okay, in this part u is smooth, and we will call that u as u minus, so from the left, and this u on the right, this part, okay, this part we call it a u plus, and this curve x equals to psi t, this is the curve of discontinuity. Okay, discontinuity of what? Discontinuity of u. This is the curve where u is discontinuous. Okay. Now, first thing first, do you really think that such a curve, I mean, if u is discontinuous around such a curve, it be weak solution? So let's see. See, this is a double integral. Okay, so you are doing an, so if something is a weak solution, what is the definition of weak solution? You see, yeah, if something is a weak solution, you see the definition involves a double derivative. So basically you are doing an integral on two variables, right, in R2. So if the function u is not continuous in a line, just a one dimensional object, then of course you can do the integration here, right? So that I think you guys know. Okay, so essentially this sort of thing is allowed. Okay, so basically let's say there is a discontinuity which is given by xi t. Now define u minus xt. I hope it is clear why such a curve can exist, because any curve like that is basically a one dimensional subset of R2, right? And in such a subset, if you are doing integration, that integration is essentially going to be 0, so it won't matter. So it does not matter what u does in that curve. Okay, so u minus will be assumed to be the limit of u, okay, approaching x3 from the left. Clear? And u plus of xt is the limit of u approaching xt from the right. Clear? So basically, I mean, this part is u plus and the left part is u minus. Okay. Okay. Now, once we have something like this, what do we claim? We claim that x equals to xi t. So it just looks like x equals to xi t can be any arbitrary function, right? I mean, of course, the way I said it is just a one-dimensional thing, that there can be any one-dimensional subsets where you can be discontinuous, right? And it still can be integrable. That can happen. But here the point is this: this x equals to xi t, this curve cannot be an arbitrary curve. Cannot be arbitrary. Okay, I hope you understand what I'm saying. It cannot be arbitrary. The curve has very specific restrictions. Okay, and we are going to use that fine. We will actually explore those restrictions. So basically, this curve is a very special curve. Okay, so theorem. Let's say, okay, let's call that the theorem. Theorem. So what is the theorem? So the theorem says that if u is a weak solution of 1, clear, such that u is continuous okay, across the curve x equals to xi t. Okay, but u is smooth. Okay, but u is smooth on either side. So you understand what I'm saying? In both sides they are smooth, just on the curve the discontinuity is there. On either side of x equals to xi t. Here, if that happens, then you must satisfy the condition. What is the condition? F of u minus, f is what? F is this f. Okay, f of u minus f of u plus by u minus u plus. These will actually be the derivative of xi. So xi prime of t will be given by this. Okay, these should be, so let me put it in the different page. This is across the curve of discontinuity okay. Clear? So I hope this is fine. What it is saying is this: see, if you approach, so basically if you want to find out what is the derivative of xi, so as I told you, xi cannot be anything. The slope of the curve is dictated by the equation, by f actually. Yes. So essentially you see, let's say you want to find out what is xi at this point, the slope of this curve at this point, xi prime of t, let's say, that is given by f of u minus is u. If you take, you approach this point, okay, so from the left, and the value of u from the left, that is u minus, and the value of u when you approach this point from the right, that is called u plus at that point, okay. So if you want to find what xi prime of t is, that is f of u minus f of u plus, or you can write it like f of u plus minus f of u minus by u plus minus u minus. Clear? Okay, so that is actually what the slope is. So basically it cannot be any arbitrary curve, but a curve with a very specific slope. Okay. So now let's look at the proof of this theorem. The proof is not very difficult and only use the integration by parts. Okay, so if u is a weak solution of 1, let's say weak solution of 1, then let us write it down. It is very important. 0 to infinity, the time variable, x variable minus infinity to infinity. And how do you remember this thing? See, there is nothing to remember. It is ut initially, right? So it is u vt. The derivative goes on the other part, plus f of u x, right? The equation, this will only be f of u, x will go to v, okay, and then dx dt, okay, plus there is a boundary term, don't forget that. The boundary term is minus infinity to infinity, okay, and the time part is not there, so that is v of x, v at the point x0, d of x, that is going to be 0. Clear? Okay, so this holds for all v in cc infinity Rn cross 0 infinity. Clear? So if there is a weak solution in u, then this happens for any complex support test function. So we call these functions a test function. For any test functions, this relation holds. Okay. Now let we are assuming v be a smooth function. Okay, so this holds for any v. Yeah, now I am assuming there is a particular v. So you do realize what I am trying to say. The relation holds for any compact support function, okay, in Rn cross 0 infinity. I am assuming that there is a particular smooth function v with v at x0 is given to be 0. Clear? So on the basis the x equals t equals to 0, that is going to be 0. This is one smooth function I am taking. So of course that belongs to cc infinity Rn cross 0 infinity. Okay, right. So we start with this and define v omega minus. Okay, omega minus, this we are defining it to be set of all those x comma t such that t lies between 0 and infinity, okay, and x lies between 0 and infinity. Clear? And omega plus is given by x comma t such that again t lies between 0 and infinity and x lies between xi t and plus infinity. Clear? So basically we are dividing the domain into two parts, omega minus and omega plus. What am I doing? Let's just draw some pictures here that will make it more clear. See, essentially let's say that's your curve, x equals to xi t, whatever, that's the curve of discontinuity. Yes, and so the u is basically u plus when you approach u from here, and u is u minus here when you approach u2 from this side. and omega minus is essentially this part, this is omega plus. Clear? Okay, that's the definition. Okay, now once that is there, therefore see, this whole domain is divided by omega minus and omega plus, right? The union of those two. So basically and v at the point x0 is 0, so basically this term is not there, huh? So essentially I am only left out with this. So 0 to infinity minus infinity to infinity u vt plus f of u times vx dx dt. Okay, how can you write it? You can write it as omega minus, okay, u vt plus f of u vx dx dt plus omega plus, okay, so the omega plus and omega minus u vt plus f of u vx dx dt, that is going to be 0. Okay, so but that is by definition. Okay, now once that happens, let's just write it properly. See, in, so I can take one into, okay, let's write down double integral, otherwise you may get confused. Let's write down double integrals. So double integral omega minus u vt plus f of u vx, okay, dx dt, this particular term, let's just look at this term again, integration by parts, huh? This is minus ut plus f of u x, okay, v dx dt plus this one on the boundary. What is boundary of this? Omega minus, boundary of omega minus is x equals to xi t. Clear? That's the discontinuity thing. So that's the boundary. And what happens on the boundary? On the boundary, it is u minus, okay, v, okay, because you know this side of u, you know, this side u is u minus, okay, in omega minus side u is u minus. Clear? So that is why it is uv, so u minus v, okay, and gamma 2, yes, plus f of again u minus v gamma 1 d of s. Okay, so what is gamma 2 gamma 1? Let me write it. You see, this is the outward unit normal. So basically this is the domain, right? Omega minus is the domain. Outward unit normal will look like this at any point. Okay, this is gamma 1 and gamma 2. Clear? Gamma 1 and gamma 2. So let me write it where gamma equals to gamma 1 and gamma 2 are outward unit normal. Outward unit normal, okay, to omega minus. Please remember that is omega minus. Okay, now similarly you can also do it for omega plus, right? So do it for omega plus, it is u vt plus f of u vx dx dt, okay, that is given by minus omega plus ut plus f of u x dx dt times v, of course, dx dt minus x equals to xi t u plus v gamma 2 plus f of u plus v gamma 1 ds. Okay, u plus y because, sorry, u plus y because u is u plus in omega plus, right? And gamma 1 gamma 2, it will just be reversed in the opposite direction, right, in this direction, so outward direction. Okay, so that is why this negative sign is there. Here there is a positive sign, here there is a negative sign, because that direction is reversed. Okay, right. Now see, u is a solution of I mean it's a weak solution such that u is smooth on either side. You see the theorem says that I am assuming that u is smooth on the either side of this thing. So basically u is smooth here and u is smooth in omega minus and u is smooth in omega plus. Okay, so if u is smooth in omega plus and omega minus, so basically u is a classical solution of on either side, so on omega plus and omega minus. You understand what I'm trying to say? See, if it is a smooth function, okay, if u is smooth, then of course it is going to be a classical solution. That's what we saw. I mean, because every classical solution is going to be a weak solution. Okay, just think about it. If u is going to be smooth, okay, then of course we can, you know, do an integration by parts and we can show that this weak solution is going to be a classical solution, of course. Yes. Okay, now, so see, since u is smooth on omega minus and omega plus, hence u is a classical solution. See, it is not classical solution everywhere. It is classical solution only in omega minus and omega plus. Okay, in omega minus and omega plus. I hope this is fine. Okay, right. Therefore, you see, let's call, I don't know what did I, let's say I called it, I did not write anything, right? So let's just call this thing as 2 and call this thing as 3. So from 2, what do we have? We have that, what do we have? Okay, we have that double integral omega minus u vt plus f of u x v, sorry, f of u vx dx dt, clear, dx dt, that is going to be, so this part will become 0, right? Because since this is smooth, and hence u is a classical solution in omega minus and omega plus. So if it is a classical solution is omega minus, ut plus f of ux is going to be 0. So this particular term is 0. So this is only integral x equals to xi t u minus v gamma 2, okay, gamma 2 plus f of u minus v gamma 1 d of s, clear? And in omega plus also we can do the exact same thing. It is u vt plus f of u vx dx dt, okay, dx dt, okay. This is given by double integral x equals to xi t, because this term is 0, right? Yes, minus u plus v gamma 2 minus, sorry, plus f of u plus v gamma 2 ds. Yes, I hope this is fine. This is fine, clear? So see this result. Now let's call this thing as 4 and let's call this as 5. Okay, now this result is true for all smooth functions v, okay, such that v at the point on the, of course, x0 is 0, that is there. Okay, if that happens, then we have, so from 4 and 5, okay, from 4 and 5, what do we have? We have that, let me write it down. It is, since this is true for any smooth function v, okay, we have u minus, okay, gamma 2 plus f of u minus gamma 1, okay, that is going to be equals to u plus gamma 2 plus f of u plus gamma 1, clear? Okay, I hope this is fine. Okay, And why is this true? Because see, from this thing, where is it? Yeah, from 2, 4 and 5, if you just put all of this together, okay, if you just put all of the, not 2, from this relation, let's call it star, from this star, the omega plus and omega minus, both sum is going to be 0, right? That sum is, because this particular thing is 0, okay, so the both sum is going to be 0. You see, this is equals to 0. So from star 4 and 5, if you just put it together, it is going to be this, no? So since it is x equals to xi t, if you want to write it, it is u minus v gamma 2 plus f of u minus v gamma 1 d of s. I'm just putting everything together, nothing, I'm not doing anything else. X equals to xi t u plus v gamma 2 plus f of u plus v gamma 1 ds. This is going to be 0. Clear? Okay, this is going to be 0. So essentially, since this is the part with omega plus minus and this is the part with omega plus, so if you put it together, this is going to be 0, and since this holds for any v, then that is why this relation is going to be true. And from this relation, what does it imply? This implies that if you want to write it, it will become f of u plus minus f of u minus by u plus minus u minus. This is going to be minus gamma 2 by gamma 1. Right? Now, again, you see what is so special about gamma 2 by gamma 1. If you want to write what is, the how do I put it? So let's say, xi prime of t, yeah. So you see, x equals to xi t is the curve given to us, right? If I want to write down what is the slope of this, that is given by xi prime of t. So that will be what? If you want, that will be minus gamma 2 by gamma 1, right? Minus gamma 2 by gamma 1, the slope, yes. And that will be given by f of u minus f of u plus by, or you want to write it other way, you can do that, it's not a problem, but anyways, that is given by this. Okay, I hope this is clear. Why, since this is the slope, you see, the discontinuity. See, what is gamma 2, gamma 1? Gamma 2 and gamma 1 is the normal. Okay, so the outer normal to this curve, right? So basically, if you want to find the slope of this curve, that is given by dx by dt, right? Dx by dt. Okay, so that is what I just wrote here. So minus gamma 2 by gamma 1. So basically this particular thing. Okay, so that is given by and again minus gamma 2 by gamma 1. So this is by your geometry thing. This is by your usual geometry, and minus gamma 2 by gamma 1 given by this. So that is why we just wrote it like this. Okay, so therefore the solution u has a discontinuity. It's a discontinuity along a curve, okay. What is the curve? X equals to xi t, okay. The solution u and the curve xi t, x equals to xi t, must satisfy the particular solution. For this to be a solution, right? Okay, must satisfy xi prime t equals to f of u minus f of u plus by u minus u plus. Okay, so please remember this thing. So this is very important. Okay, and hence we did prove the theorem. The theorem is proved. Okay, so basically there is a curve of discontinuity around what is the slope of the curve. The curve is not an arbitrary curve, but it is given by xi prime of t is f of u minus f of u plus. What is u minus? U minus is the limit of u from the left, u plus is the limit of u from the right at that point. Okay, by u minus u plus. Okay. And in shorthand notation, how do you write it? So let us write that shorthand notation. So we write it, we define the jump of u is u minus minus u plus. So basically how much is u jumping around that curve, okay, and the jump of f of u essentially, that is f of u minus f of u plus, okay, and sigma, let's say that's the slope which is given by xi prime of t, okay, if you call that. So basically this is the jump of u across the discontinuity, okay, across the discontinuity, okay, and this is also the same jump of f of u across the discontinuity x equals to xi, same thing, okay, and this is actually the speed. So this is called the speed of the curve of discontinuity. Of course it is, yeah, curve of discontinuity. This is nothing special, huh? Given a curve, the speed is given by xi prime, right? So this is basically a speed. So hence the relation which we just got. So what is the relation for this curve to be, if it's a weak solution and this is the curve of discontinuity, then the relation is given by f of u, the jump of f of u is equals to the speed of the curve sigma times the jump of u, okay. So this is important. This relation is called the Rankine Huguenot jump condition. Clear? Rankine Huguenot jump condition. Clear? Okay, so with this we are going to end this video. In the next video we are going to take up a problem and I am going to show you how we can use this condition to find solutions.